Well, for more on Venezuela, I'm joined now by Philip Gunson in Caracas. He's a senior analyst with the International Crisis Group. Philip Gunson, good to speak to you today. Why is today so important for the future of Venezuela?
Well, as was mentioned there in the introduction, the country's in the middle of a huge economic crisis. The economy slumped by about 10% in the course of last year. People are having great difficulty finding food, medicines, and all sorts of basic supplies. So that really will be one of the first things on the agenda. But as was also mentioned, there is a huge political conflict looming because although the opposition now controls the assembly and with a very large majority, President Maduro and his ruling Socialist Party control the rest of the powers of state. They control the judiciary in particular. And what looks like happening is a massive conflict, particularly between the legislature on the one hand, the executive and the judiciary on the other. And meanwhile, of course, the economic crisis will continue.
Well, with the assembly on one side, as you say, and the president on the other, that impasse means it's a bad day for the people of Venezuela.
Well, it's being taken, of course, differently according to which side of the political agenda you're on. There's a lot of optimism on the opposition side. This is, after all, the first time in 15 years that they've had a majority in parliament. They're looking forward to being able to control the agenda to some extent, threaten perhaps President Maduro with an early bath, if you like, in sporting terms. His term of office is due to end at the beginning of 2019, but there's a possibility of a recall referendum as early as this year, which could cut it short. So it's really going to be a question of seeing whether there's any possibility here of cohabitation between two conflicting powers with very, very different agendas, or whether things will spiral downwards, possibly leading to some kind of social explosion.
Well, just put this in some context for us, if you would. I mean, how far to the right are the opposition party of President Maduro in terms of countries like the US or Britain? Will they be making some big changes in Congress?
Well, the government, of course, styles itself as revolutionary socialist and is very, very radical by international standards. The opposition is a very mixed bag. It runs from the conservative right all the way through to some parties on the left, predominantly probably left of centre, social democrat, centrist. Those are the biggest parties now in the coalition. The kind of country that they would, I suppose, like to see would first and foremost be one in which the rules of democracy are restored, because here we've become used in Venezuela, unfortunately, over recent years, to a government which takes the fact that it's been a majority ever since the year 2000 to mean that it can more or less do whatever it likes. And at least, if it can't do anything else, the new assembly, I think, would like to rein in some of the abuses and some of the very extremely rampant corruption that we've seen in recent years.
Well, Philip Gunson, unfortunately, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us from Caracas.